Why the universe feels different at eclipses. There's something most people never tell you about eclipses. They don't just block the sun. They crack open a door between everyday reality and something much, much deeper. Most folks will grab their phones, snap a few photos, and move on. But the rare soul who stands still in that darkness and listens walks away changed. Science confirms it, spirituality explains it, and the universe is practically screaming it. Eclipses are not just sky shows. They're invitations. And the question isn't whether the universe feels different at eclipses. The question is, are you paying attention when it does? Topic 1. The energetic portal opens. When the sky darkens in the middle of the day, something extraordinary happens to the fabric of reality around every soul on Earth. Researchers studying eclipse psychology have found that people in the path of totality report overwhelming emotional surges, spontaneous tears, and a sense of profound connection to the universe that defies ordinary logic. These aren't sentimental reactions. They are signals from the higher self, breaking through the noise of daily life because the energetic portal of an eclipse creates a rare crack in the usual barrier between conscious and cosmic awareness. Think of it like a spiritual awakening alarm going off in the soul, the kind that doesn't care if someone is a skeptic, a scientist, or a mystic. It rings anyway. Ancient yogis and mystics understood this intuitively, deliberately choosing eclipse seasons to deepen their meditation practices and accelerate spiritual growth. The science behind this is more fascinating than most people realize. During totality, solar radiation drops to nearly zero, temperatures fall sharply, winds change direction, and animals behave as if the world is ending, because on an energetic level, the usual rules briefly pause. The planet's electromagnetic patterns shift dramatically, and since the human body is essentially a living energy antenna, it picks up on every one of those fluctuations, whether the conscious mind wants to acknowledge it or not. This is precisely why someone might feel inexplicably anxious, exhausted, or strangely electrified during eclipse season. The physical vessel is recalibrating alongside Earth's energetic frequency. It's a healing process the universe initiates without asking for permission. Consciousness begins to loosen its grip on the familiar, and that's when transformation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. What makes this energetic portal so powerful is that it doesn't discriminate. Whether someone is deeply committed to their spiritual development or has never meditated a day in their life, the eclipse hits the reset button on the soul's inner landscape. Outer space, during an eclipse, seems more alive than at any other celestial event. Even experienced astronomers struggle to describe the feeling without reaching for spiritual language. The universe dims its lights not to frighten, but to show what was always there beneath the bright surface of ordinary consciousness. And if that feels like a lot to process in just a few minutes of cosmic darkness, well, buckle up, because what happens inside a person during an eclipse is only the beginning of the story. Topic 2. Shadow work becomes unavoidable. Eclipses have zero tolerance for the emotional baggage someone's been dragging around, and that's precisely what makes them both terrifying and transformative in equal measure. The moon governs deep emotional tides, the inner world, subconscious patterns, and the shadow self that most people work so hard to keep hidden. So when the Earth's shadow passes over the moon during a lunar eclipse or the moon blocks the sun during a solar one, that personal shadow self gets projected onto a cosmic screen so large and undeniable that avoidance becomes virtually impossible. This is the universe's way of saying, it's time. Not gently, not politely, but with the kind of loving urgency a wise mentor uses when they see someone wasting years of their life on the wrong path. Think about what typically surfaces during eclipse seasons for many people going through genuine personal development. Those old memories that seem to float up from nowhere, vivid dreams that carry the weight of prophecy, sudden crystalline clarity about a toxic relationship or a job that's been draining the soul for years. None of it is coincidence. The higher self uses the eclipse portal to deliver messages that have been waiting in the queue, sometimes for decades. A practical example. If someone has been journaling during a solar eclipse and notices a recurring theme, fear of failure, a pattern of self-sabotage, unresolved grief, that's not random. That's the soul presenting its homework. The action step is simple. Don't ignore it. Write it down, sit with it, bring it to a therapist, a mentor, or even a trusted friend. The eclipse opened the door. The inner peace comes from walking through it. What makes this shadow work particularly profound during eclipse season is the collective dimension. When millions of souls are simultaneously having their emotional basements flooded with light, the collective energy of humanity shifts in ways that ripple through every relationship, every community, every culture. Social media tends to get more volatile, conversations escalate, and people seem more reactive. Not because everyone suddenly became difficult, but because the universe is shaking the snow globe of collective consciousness. The awakening soul recognizes this not as chaos to be feared, but as evidence of a massive, coordinated transformation underway. And just when it seems like things couldn't get any stranger, time itself starts to behave differently. Topic 3. Time becomes nonlinear. One of the most disorienting and simultaneously awe-inspiring effects of an eclipse is that the normal flow of time seems to dissolve. People standing in the path of totality consistently report that hours pass like minutes, or that a few minutes of darkness stretch into what feels like eternity, creating a dreamlike, almost otherworldly quality to reality. This is not imagination running wild or psychological delusion. Human circadian rhythms, emotional patterns, and cognitive functions are deeply wired to light cycles. So when those cycles are dramatically interrupted, the brain's internal clock loses its usual footing. The universe, for a brief moment, steps outside its own schedule, and anyone paying attention gets to peek behind the cosmic curtain at something mysticism has described for thousands of years. Ancient traditions across the world, from Vedic astrology to indigenous shamanic practices, identified eclipses as moments when the veil between past, present, and future grows thin enough to sense all three simultaneously. Modern consciousness researchers are beginning to catch up. EEG studies conducted during eclipse events have found that following totality, participants show high amplitude, low-frequency brain waves similar to those observed during deep meditation, profound healing experiences, and states of heightened spiritual awareness. In practical terms, this means that a person who chooses to sit quietly during an eclipse, rather than frantically photographing it, may access a depth of self-knowledge in those few minutes that months of regular meditation couldn't quite reach. Try it. Turn the phone face down, close the eyes, breathe, and simply ask the higher self a question that's been going unanswered. The response might not come as a voice. It might come as a feeling, a memory, or a sudden, unmistakable clarity. There's something almost sacred about the way eclipses compress time. Mystic traditions describe these as moments when timeline shifts become possible, when the soul can release old versions of itself with unusual speed and step into alignment with its true self. It's as if the universe briefly turns off gravity, and everything that was held in place by habit, fear, or inertia becomes momentarily weightless. Colors grow more vivid, shadows sharpen, familiar landscapes look as though they belong to another world entirely. The person watching is not hallucinating. They are experiencing reality without the sun's constant energetic bombardment that normally keeps consciousness locked into conventional perception. And if time can bend like this during an eclipse, one naturally starts to wonder, what does that mean for the energy moving through the body in those moments? Topic 4. Energetic hypersensitivity. Activates. For those who already walk through life as natural empaths or sensitive souls, eclipse season isn't just intense. It can feel like someone turned the volume of the universe up to 11 overnight. During an eclipse, the human energy field becomes significantly more porous than usual, transforming every sensitive person into a living antenna, picking up on collective emotions, Earth's electromagnetic shifts, and frequencies from dimensions that normally remain out of range. This is not weakness. This is actually a sign of an advanced energetic system, one that is precisely calibrated for spiritual awakening and designed to receive cosmic downloads that less sensitive systems simply miss. Ancient yogis who understood this deliberately used eclipse conditions to amplify their spiritual practices, knowing that what takes months of ordinary effort can happen in a flash when the energetic portal is wide open. The phenomenon has a measurable physical basis. Solar radiation plummets to zero during totality, Atmospheric pressure changes create noticeable winds even in still weather, and the electromagnetic environment of the planet shifts in ways that modern science is only beginning to fully document. For the energetically hypersensitive soul, this creates an experience that swings between feeling overwhelmingly flooded and extraordinarily powerful, depending entirely on awareness and preparation. A practical recommendation: in the days leading up to an eclipse, reduce social media exposure, spend more time in nature, increase hydration, and create intentional boundaries around energy-draining relationships. Books like The Empath's Survival Guide by Judith Orloff or Power versus Force by David Hawkins offer concrete frameworks for navigating this kind of energetic amplification with grace and intention. What the universe is essentially doing during these moments of energetic hypersensitivity is accelerating the soul's capacity for healing. The protective buffering that normally keeps the energy field slightly closed, useful for daily survival, but limiting for deep transformation, temporarily drops, allowing for a kind of energetic house cleaning that simply isn't possible under ordinary conditions. People report sudden releases of grief they didn't know they were carrying, unexpected clarity about life direction, and a bone-deep sense of inner peace that arrives without obvious cause. This isn't spiritual bypassing or wishful thinking. It's the higher self doing what it was always designed to do when given the right cosmic conditions. And speaking of conditions, what eclipses do to individual energy fields is fascinating. What they do to collective human consciousness is nothing short of revolutionary. Topic 5. The Collective Awakening Effect. Eclipses aren't just personal events. They are collective ones, and their impact on the shared field of human consciousness is something that spirituality, sociology, and even psychology are beginning to converge on. When millions of people simultaneously experience awe, that specific emotion triggered by vastness, by something that makes the small self feel insignificant in the most liberating way possible, the collective energy field of humanity undergoes a measurable shift. Psychologists studying the science of awe found that it dissolves the ego's usual boundaries, increases prosocial behavior, reduces self-obsession, and opens people to new perspectives they would have resisted just hours before. An eclipse, in this sense, is less a natural phenomenon and more a scheduled reset, the universe pressing the collective refresh button on human consciousness. History offers remarkable evidence of this. Cultures separated by oceans and centuries, Babylonian astronomers, Mayan calendar keepers, Chinese imperial astrologers, and Aboriginal Australian sky watchers, all independently concluded that eclipses were moments of unusual power and transformation. They weren't sharing notes. They were observing the same reality, that during these celestial alignments, something in human behavior, decision-making, and social dynamics visibly shifts. In modern terms, this might manifest as a sudden wave of public awakening around a suppressed social truth, a cultural movement gaining unstoppable momentum, or even a personal community suddenly ready for conversations that felt impossible before. The eclipse doesn't cause these things. It creates the energetic conditions in which the soul and the collective become ready for them. The most counterintuitive truth about this collective awakening effect is that chaos and breakthrough are actually the same event viewed from different angles. What looks like turmoil on the surface, the arguments, the emotional volatility, the upheaval of eclipse season, is actually the universe doing its most efficient work, collapsing timelines and dissolving structures that were never aligned with genuine spiritual growth in the first place. The soul undergoing this process doesn't need to be swept away by the drama. It needs to stay grounded, stay curious, and stay anchored to its own inner peace, because what's being built in the aftermath of eclipse season turbulence is always more aligned, more authentic, and more powerful than what came before. And when that new version of the self begins to emerge, there's one more extraordinary gift the eclipse offers that most people completely overlook. Don't let another eclipse pass you by as a spectator. The universe has been broadcasting your awakening since long before you were born, and the only thing standing between where you are and the transformation you know you're capable of is the decision to consciously participate. If this touched something real in you, subscribe to the channel and enable notifications, because the next conversation goes even deeper into the mysticism, the science, and the soul-level strategies that will change how you see every single day. not just the eclipse ones. Your spiritual growth journey has already begun. Don't walk it alone.